Good morning and welcome to Mental Health Matters Office Hours. It's the show where we take on all things workplace wellbeing. And today our show is all about being well in the workplace. We welcome back Fern Overton. She is the founder of Affinity Daycare CIC. Her place is one of the most joyful businesses to work in, and she's going to give us her tips and tools. However, we do want you to think about what makes a workplace well, because it will be different for every single person. And perhaps if this show gives you some ideas, you can take them away. Let us know in the comments how you get on with that. Let's head over to the main studio. Welcome to Mental Health Matters Office Hours, Fern. It's great to chat with you again.
Hello.
Thanks for having me back.
Hello.
Oh, you always bring so much joy to our show, so it's lovely to have you.
Thank you.
But we're going to start off with a question that obviously you can solve. What's wrong with today's workforce? What's wrong with going to work?
How long do we have? There's so much wrong, but there's also so much right. So let's not be completely negative. There's so many lovely jobs out there, lovely workplaces. But I think it's an ever-evolving market, isn't it? People looking for jobs, the jobs that are needed to be filled. Yes. And it's just about being diverse. And I don't think a lot of employers are very diverse in what they're expecting from people, really.
That's a very interesting point.
It really is, yeah.
You've also had the experience of working for a larger organisation and a smaller one that you run. What did you find with the larger organisations? Is it, because sometimes I find it's not like your immediate team don't want to do it, it's just you can't get the permission from above them, so nothing happens.
No, it is so difficult. Working in third sector as well, a bigger voluntary organisation, a charity if you like, you would think it would be lovely, people want to volunteer, give their time back, but actually when you're effectively working for a bunch of trustees that don't necessarily have any input in services, then that is where your barriers come from. This is where things slow down, because you've got 12 people at the top that have to tick boxes and say yes to things, but don't actually know what you're asking for. And then, of course, root of all evil, money. Things always come back to money, whatever sector you're working in. Nobody really wants to spend the money to get things done these days.
It's really interesting talking about third sector because we've had a lot of guests talking about third sector recently, and I think there's a lot to be uncovered in there. There's a lot of issues that we don't realise, like some problematic trustees and problematic behaviours on top. Maybe that's a whole other show.
And I think Fern's right, that you have an idea about what a trust or charity must be like to work for, and the reality is very different.
Yes,
definitely. And again, it's the money side. Like I'll never put people off giving to charity, because there's a lot of charities out there that do run purely on people's donations, but always look on Companies House, on the charity register, and see what their overheads are.
Yes.
If charities are asking you for money, but they've got chief executives or paid trustees, your money is not going to go to their service that they're providing. It's going to go to people's pay packets, and that's not what you want to do.
Yes. That's point. That's a very good point. Also, though, of course, we've had the big social issues like the pandemic and Brexit and all of those other world events. How has that impacted well-being in the workplace, how comfortable people are at work?
I think it's made us as employees hold our employers to more accountability. I think all of a sudden things like the pandemic, where we just slogged 9 to 5, you get up, you go to work because that's the norm. Actually, the pandemic showed us that that's not the norm. Things can be changed around. You can work from home but work outside. Ground yourself, get that aspect of mental health, have flexible working time. If all of a sudden you've got to homeschool multiple children, then if your boss can all of a sudden let you do a little bit in the morning, do a bit of homeschooling, do a bit more in the afternoon, why is that not the norm? And I think it really brought that to light, that you need to mix it up a bit. People are diverse, employers need to be diverse.
That word again, isn't it?
Yes.
Diversity again.
Yes.
I love that.
It. So a lot of people do want to work in the third sector, and yes, a great place to work, as we know, or in other jobs such as teaching and nursing, like maybe vocational type jobs. But there are issues there. Have you experienced anything working in the third sector?
Definitely. I think when you're looking at vocational jobs, when it's somebody's vocation to do something that they love, I think that can have a negative impact sometimes, because it's not all it's cracked up to be. If you want to be a teacher because you love children and you want to inspire the next generation, you walk into a job that you think, oh, I'm going to have all the school holidays off, it's all of these hours. It's none of that anymore, because, you know, you've got so much pressure, you've got too many children in the class, and I think that makes it harder on people's mental health, rather than having a job that they have just to pay the bills. When it's a vocational job, that affects your mental health more, because you can't deliver what you want.
Yes.
And I'm not discrediting anyone's role. Like, I think people should always give 100% to whatever they're doing. But yeah, when you say it's your vocation, it's tougher on you. It really is, when you can't deliver what you want.
Maybe because it matters more to you.
Absolutely,
as well.
yeah. And all roles should matter to everybody.
Yeah,
100% believe that. But yeah, when it's a niche market like nursing or teaching or third sector, it's so tough. And I've seen people walk out of jobs crying, you know, even just sitting in A&E, like if my grandma's had a fall or something, or with my daughter, you see these nurses are broken because of the pressure of this job that they have because they love, but everything else around it isn't supporting them to deliver, really.
Yeah, indeed. And do you think the size of the organisation is important in terms of everybody feeling valued?
It is important, but it shouldn't be. It is important because you have, the bigger you are, effectively, in theory, the more tiers of management there will be. But to me, that shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter whether you have got the lowest paid job or the highest paid job. You should all, if you're in the same building, you should know who each other are, and you should know each other's name. Yeah. And that should be it, really, just to have that chat and say, hi, are you all right? Hi, Dave, how are you? Yeah, Sandra, I'm good. Like, it shouldn't matter how big the organisation is. Everybody should feel like a person and should be treated like a person.
It sounds so simple, doesn't it?
It does. And you're right. You're so right.
And this is the point. Like, people, I think business these days is so overthought. Like, you really just need to bring it back down to, what are you delivering? How many staff do you need to deliver that to a decent level? And then let's encourage those staff to want to do that to a decent level. Everything else around it is fantastic, you know, profit margins, all of that, lovely, lovely stuff. But your staff are your most important people, and they should feel like that.
Yeah. Oh,
really good point. Yeah.
Well, Fern is staying with us, you'll be glad to hear, and we will be back with you just after some words of wisdom from Dr. Gus.
Words have a huge power and influence in how we interpret the world and our reality. So wording correctly can have a huge impact on how you perceive the life you live and the changes you want to make. So my tip for you today is to replace have to with get to. Now let's say an example. I have to eat healthy becomes I get to eat healthy. I have to exercise becomes I get to exercise. The sense of burden that have to brings is transformed into an opportunity, a privilege. So pay attention to your have to statements today. Try swapping them with get to, and notice how it changes your perspective.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters Office Hours, where we're talking to Fern about well-being in the workplace.
Yeah.
So Fern, you're an entrepreneur.
I am, aren't I?
You are, yes. You're a great one as well. What issues have you had to deal with as an entrepreneur in the workplace?
Just the main one for me is letting go and admitting that I need a bit more help. If I could do it all myself, I probably still would be, and I'm nearly 5 years in. But I'm not, and I've had to not admit defeat, but let go of the reins a little bit and trust myself in the decisions I've made for my staff, and then trust them to do what I would like them to do, really. So that is the main issue for me.
A bit of delegation.
That's it, yeah. We're terrible at that, though, as women, aren't we?
It's two things, isn't it? One, you don't necessarily want to burden someone else with it. And the other one is, yeah, but if I do it, I can just.
And then I always think, well, if I'm if I'm telling you to do this, I don't want you to go and think, oh my God, she's just like, I want help. Come on, let's do it together. I'll show you. And then I think, as you know, that's the point in employing someone else to do it, because I don't have the time to do it. So it's the internal monologue as well as a business owner. When you have staff, you're like, right, I need to ask so and so. And they're like, oh God, what if she, or what if it? Just one and off button. So that's the struggle as well. Talking to myself in my head, talking myself out of things, although I know that they're sensible decisions.
People are going to resonate with that a lot, actually. We'd love to hear it in the comments if it does.
Like, you're trying to have a conversation with your staff, and then you've got a second conversation with yourself in your head, like, oh, maybe say that a bit nicer, or smile after you've said that.
Oh, wow. And that's really interesting to hear, and I should think people will find that interesting, because you are so successful. You run such a successful organisation with lots of staff.
There's 20 of them.
So that's still going on after 5 years.
After 5 years,
that's amazing.
20 staff later, I'm still talking. And
wow.
And I think my eye will be twitching in a minute. They're going to think, I've gone mad.
Brilliant.
Oh my gosh. So that kind of leads me to my next question. When did you have to make that decision to let go and to start delegating?
So really early on. So we opened in the December, the day the second lockdown ended, 2020. Right. So the 2nd of December 2020, we opened our doors, because I thought, I need to get it done now, because if I don't, then there'll be another lockdown and we won't be classed as established, yada yada. So it was me and 2 members of staff that I'd worked with previously had come over and took that leap of faith with me. So there was 3 of us to start off with. Right. And then really quickly it went mad. And then I had to employ a minibus driver in the following February. So I was really lucky. A lot of staff I'd worked with previously that had either had redundancies or stuff had come up across. And so I did have a nice list of people that were waiting for jobs. But then for me, it was the first unknown employee that I had to employ. So care staff. So drivers I was really lucky with. A lot of them had followed me over. But my first member of care staff that I had to employ that I didn't know anything about, that was tricky for me. And again, that was quite soon on. That was less than a year into the business. I had to do that. And then it was the process of, oh gosh, how do I do recruitment myself? Like, I've always done recruitment for other organisations and followed their recruitment processes. Now it's just me. I can literally make this up, and I can do it how I want to do it, which is where I sort of came up with the idea of values-based recruitment over anything else, really.
And that's brilliant. I know that's something you've mentioned on the show before, and do watch Fern's show on Mental Health Matters. But if somebody's looking at this now, what do you mean by it? What do you do to recruit?
So values-based recruitment is exactly what it says on the tin. It is employing people based on their values and how they align with yours as a business. So I don't look at CVs. CVs mean nothing to me. I don't really care what you've done before, because I'm looking at you now as this person and how you're going to slot in with my family and my workplace and uphold my values, and also how I'm going to get on with you as a person. And my clients have a lot to do with our recruitment process as well. And it's just a big family effort, and how you're going to fit in with us and how you're going to enjoy the job as much as how you can do what I've asked you to do.
And that picks up something really important. Anyone new joining a team has to actually fit in with the way the team is running anyway. Otherwise, that can be a real problem in itself. And
they have to enjoy the role.
Yes.
Like, we as employers, I think we get very set on, what can you do for me? Actually, what can I do for you? Because nobody wants a job they don't enjoy. And as recruitment, you don't want a high turnover of staff, because then that makes your job harder. There's a lot more work involved in that. So if you can get the right person and make the role fit for them as much as they fit for you, it's a win-win situation.
I fully agree. And then sort of relating to that, your workplace in particular, and it's Affinity Daycare, it's a community interest company, and you provide daycare for seniors, which I think is absolutely fabulous, and I've been there and it's lovely and it's really a positive atmosphere. But as well as that, there is going to be sadness and loss. So there you almost need that team to come together and support each other. So how do you support the well-being when sometimes what would be inevitable happens?
So it is tricky because my team especially, a lot of us have lived through personal loss. Like, I lost my dad 2 years ago. Some of my other staff have lost parents recently. Like, for 5 years down the line, we've gone through a lot together as a team. We've had a lot of personal loss together as a team. So loss of clients is quite triggering for a lot of us. But it's just about how I would feel. Like, I struggle. We love our clients that we look after. Some of them are with us 5 days a week, and effectively we see them sometimes more than family do, and sometimes more than we see our older people in our family. So it is really hard, but just support them. Ask the staff how they feel. Like, thankfully we've got such a lovely community. Families always let us know about funeral arrangements and stuff, so I always try my best. Like, if a member of staff has had a certain kinship with a client that's passed away, I will always send a representative from Affinity to everybody's funeral. So then it's up to the staff if they want to do that, or do they want me to go. And it's just about treating them like people still.
But you make a really nice point there. Just in that simple act, you've given somebody the choice. You've given somebody the opportunity to say no as much as it is to say yes.
Because also, going back to the human element, a lot of my employees are older than me as well. And I think nowhere should that respect be lost, no matter what stage or hierarchy there is in a company. You should never lose respect for somebody that's lived a life longer than you have. And just to give somebody choice is such ultimate respect.
I agree with that completely. And that just carries through all ages, right up to your clients as well. But also the care profession it's very, very tough. And sometimes, I'm sure we've experienced it as teachers, you go into work and you're just not feeling it. And it may not be anything to do with the workplace, just you're not feeling it. How do you kind of put that aside and then kind of go, okay, we're going to have a good day today?
So that starts with me 100% in the morning. And I always say to my staff, so we have a little 10 at 10, a little huddle in the morning. So I sort of allocate the activities, if we're doing a trip, catch up, any client news. And my staff know then that that's the opportunity to say, I can't give 100% today. And then we can either alter their day to accommodate how they're feeling.
Brilliant.
Or if it's not over 50%, if it's so low, mental health day, go home, get under a duvet. Like, we can cope. And I know that that's the same for me as well. I know my team will support me. Obviously, like I said, having a grief, living with grief for the last, it'll be 3 years in May. They know that if I'm having a tough day, I can just pop it on the WhatsApp group and say, team, I'm not feeling it today. And they'll sort it. I know I can completely trust them to do that. They show me enough respect to do that. I will always show them enough respect to do that as well.
That's fantastic. I love that.
That's so important, because also it challenges my mindset, because I started the question with, how do you put it behind you and go to work anyway?
Yes.
And you're saying,
don't
actually,
put it behind you. There's nothing worse.
That's fantastic.
There's nothing worse for your mental health than trying to bury it down. If it's here, get it out and then move on with it if you can. Like, the more you bury it down, the worse it's going to be in the long run.
Absolutely. So this is now a very cheeky question. What do you do for your own well-being?
For my own well-being, I'll sound so cliche. Work is like therapy for me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
I get up every morning, I rock up to work, and I get to hang out with 40, 50 older people every day who are awesome. And that's wicked for me.
Yeah.
And just to sit and listen, like, sometimes I'm busying myself with paperwork that, has to be done, as boring as it is. Other days, I've got the luxury to just sit and do a jigsaw with somebody, or go and do somebody's nails, or drive the minibus and go and feed the ducks. Like, it honestly isn't work for me.
Brilliant.
But if I am having a tough day, then just potter around in my garden.
It's getting out in nature again, isn't it? It's so important.
It's so important. And for us as well, with the service we deliver, we make sure there's outside time every single day, regardless of the weather. Like, if it's cold, we can wrap up. If it's raining, we've got umbrellas. But fresh air in your lungs and the wind on your face, even if it's for 5 minutes a day, for my staff and for my clients, it's so important.
Love it.
Amazing.
Love it. Yeah. Fern, staying with us. We'll be back just after this.
Navigating today's workplace is tough.
Toxic employees, endless drama, a lack of motivation. We've all been there.
But fear not, we are here to help. My name is Leanne and I'm a chartered psychologist.
My name is Al and I'm a business owner, and together we dig into the scientific and commercial secrets behind great workplace cultures in truth, lies and work.
A no-nonsense, award-winning psychology podcast brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network. We explore practical strategies for building a great workplace.
We debunk buzzwords and bring you the very best advice around finding and keeping great people. From personality tests.
Personality tests they're mostly bollocks. I don't know what kind of language you do on your podcast. I don't know if people know this, but the man who wrote the Wonder Woman comics is the person who invented the disc.
When more flexible working became a norm, you no longer hurt your career prospects by being the one person who worked flexibly.
All the way to avoiding high turnover.
We recruit and promote people to managerial roles based on their technical skills, not their people skills. This is a very fundamental problem we have, which we haven't directly tackled.
From toxic-free cultures,
Interventions for the individual are only half the answer. Systemic change is the other half.
to sustainable growth.
Thinking beyond just paying somebody a good salary, I think is super necessary now. We have to offer so much more than that.
We have got you covered.
So join us on Tuesdays and Thursdays where we help you to simplify the science of work and build amazing workplace cultures.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters Office Hours, where we're speaking with the lovely Fern. You've had the opportunity to expand, as you were explaining. You took on employees and you took on a lot more. How do you ensure that your vibe and your values, as you've been talking about, are kind of carried through your organisation?
So it starts at the recruitment process. So there is an application form that I've devised myself that is purely on values based. So you tell me how you're going to uphold my values in what you expect to do as the role. And then if that's successful, then it's about a practical interview. So they have to come and deliver something practical to a focus group of clients, and the clients are very much involved in the recruitment process. And then I will just sit and have a chat with you for half an hour. I want to know everything about you. I want to know your life story, what your hobbies are. I want to know everything, because, you know, you can get a really good feel for somebody just by having a conversation.
Yes.
And also making them feel like you want them to be there, like I've said before. Yes. Like, recruitment processes are so... just sterile in most places. Like, you send your CV off, you don't hear anything back. You do an application form, you don't hear anything back.
It's true.
You have an interview, you don't hear anything back. Just making them feel, even if it's a no, I really liked you, but for now it's a no. I wish you all the best.
Yes.
If you want any more feedback, I'll happily give it to you. I've got the time to do that. And then I am very much involved with the setup of each individual centre. Mainly because I'm a control freak, but secondly because I want my new staff to know I am present. I am there,
Yes.
I am present. You're not doing this alone. This is me, my heart and soul that you're carrying through. So I'm going to be here with it for as long as you need me to be. And yeah, it's touch wood, has worked beautifully so far. I've got 3-day centres in separate locations, all with different centre managers, all with different sets of team. And it's lovely. It's working.
I love it.
It's
We need
amazing.
to bottle everything that you have and distribute it in the third sector.
I want you to come and open one near my mum as well.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Oh, so it's a very unique recruitment process, which is great. And has that ever caused problems when your clients might have liked somebody, but you kind of got a feeling that maybe they're not quite right?
Not really, because I trust my clients.
Okay.
My staff are the ones that deliver the service to my clients.
Yes.
So if they can't do an activity as part of their practical interview and engage all of the clients around that table, then they're going to know that as much as I'm going to know that. You know, if 4 or 5 of them are sat there and one of them has nodded off, And then I say any feedback, and they say, "Oh, I don't know, I nodded off." Okay, that's all.
That tells you everything you need.
Yeah, that's completely it. And I sit there and watch them deliver the activity, but yeah, they tell me first, and then it's always aligned with the same decision, because I'm watching what they're doing, and if they're not enjoying it, I can see that they're not enjoying it.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely perfect sense. I mean, not everyone's cut out to run a business.
No.
That is a bit of an issue. So is there a difference between being a leader and the visionary and then being an excellent second in command, but not being able to do the leadership, that kind of role? And how do you get people into into the right fit for them?
There definitely is a difference, and that's not a bad thing, because you need all spokes in the wheels for it to go round. It's just a favourite corporate saying of mine is aces in their places, and you really have to know everybody's attributes and what they're best at to set them up for success. There's no point in taking somebody that can't hold a meeting in the morning just to generally allocate activities and then asking them to run a whole centre, because that's setting them up to fail. And again, that's not conducive to my business, that's not conducive to their mental health or how they feel about their role. And it's really about regular staff supervisions as well, so they know that you know where their attributes are, and you're only going to exploit them so they enjoy it and they feel confident, and then discussing things that they might want to improve on and helping them do that, or things that are a definite no-no for them. I've got some of my team that would never want to stand up and do a group activity in front of 30 clients. They would never want to lead the armchair exercises or do a game of bowls. Their voices aren't loud enough, so I'd never ask them to. But I've got another set of staff that are absolutely brilliant at that. And again, it's just aces in their places, setting your staff up to succeed and not to fail.
I think that's really important. What if, and this is just, again, a devil's advocate question, what if you're in a situation whereby you've got that person who is in a really good place for them. They're in the right place for you. That ace is in its place. But that ace doesn't want to be in that place anymore. They think, actually, I want to do what you're doing. I want to do what she's doing. I want to do what he's doing. And it isn't going to suit them. How do you have that conversation? Because that can be quite difficult.
It can, but this is where you have to have that respect for your staff members and make sure they have that respect for you, to have that open and honest conversation.
Yes.
And also put it back to them, because what you might think a job role is in your head is not always reality. So if one of my staff members comes to me and says, right, I want my own centre, I want to run my own centre, I can do what you're doing. Okay, let's have a chat. What is it you think that I do? Day to day, what do you from 9 till 5? What is it that you see me do, think you can do? And then this is where realization hits in that actually there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and actually that probably is a bit too complicated. It's not just a question of like rock up and decide what activities we're doing. There's the milk run, the bread run, all the other stuff that I have to do.
The invoicing, the paying,
straight after school run. It's just having that open conversation. If they still think they want to do it, I'm going to give them the opportunity to try. Of course I am, because they might prove me wrong. And we have to give them that opportunity, don't they? Because otherwise nobody would ever succeed or push themselves. If they've got the drive to want to push themselves, I'm going to support them.
And they might do it differently, and that works.
Absolutely.
For I love that.
Change is as good as a rest, isn't it?
Love it. And sort of related to that, what changes do you think we're going to see in the workplace, and do you hope we're going to see in the workplace?
I think that with the living wage being fairly decent now, and that hopefully will continue to rise every year, I would think we would see a better quality of work being delivered by employees, just because now, finally, nearly, I think people deserve a lot more, but now we're finally getting the recognition that actually we can't live on minimum wage. It needs to be fairly decent. I think that in turn will deliver better quality. What I would love to see is more more opportunity for people that don't fit into boxes, because we can't be a box ticking society. We're in 2025. There's so many different people out there with different talents. I truly believe there is a job for every single person out there. It's just the employers need to rethink where that person's going to fit in their business or organisation. It shouldn't be up to people job seeking anymore, because I've had to be a job seeker and it is the most soul destroying thing I've ever done in my adult life. You know, you're firing off 30, 40 CVs a day and you hear nothing, absolutely nothing. And you know, you hear all the statistics on the media about unemployment. They're telling you what they want us to hear, and they're not speaking to the people that are doing it. You know, not everybody wants to work stacking shelves or work in McDonald's and all of that. Like, you're going to do it because you need the money, but you're also doing this soul destroying job search behind the scenes, and that's, your mental health is on the floor just by doing that. And I think if employers were more open to maybe doing a job share instead of looking for one person for one role, doing a job share, doing flexible hours, you know, it's that's what I would like to see.
And I hope we will, because I think some places they're beginning to understand it a little bit better.
Yes, I think they are,
and they maybe have the agility to be able to implement that, but not everybody, unfortunately.
Not enough.
And we are going to see the problems there, I think.
And I think it has to be your smaller businesses and organisations to do that first, because actually if you're looking at your big corporations and they can't fill their roles, why can't we fill our roles? Oh, because what we're providing as small people is a lot more attractive than what you can offer. Then no, you're not gonna. And you know, more local jobs, you're working for a local business, putting it all back in the area, people aren't having to travel miles. You know, it's gonna happen. We just have to start small first.
I love that. Well, Fern is staying with us to give us her top tips at the end of the show. Let's head over to Business Boost. In today's Business Boost, I thought I would draw on something that our guest Fern has been talking about, and this is recruitment. If you are looking for a job, one of the most important things that you can understand for yourself is what are your skills and what are your strengths. Now, your skills are things that you're very, very good at. It might be you're very good at making PowerPoint presentations, or you're very good at speaking, or you're very good at keeping accounts. But they are things that exhaust you. They're things that are no fun. They're things that you don't really enjoy doing, but you just happen to be rather good at them. Strengths, however, are also things you enjoy doing, but they energize you. You do them, you can learn more, you can develop your skills in those areas, but every time you do it, even if it doesn't go brilliantly, you feel good doing it. Look at all the things that you can do, divide them into skills on one side, strengths on the other, and when you look for your next job, really focus on finding somewhere that you can really display your strengths. Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. We've reached the last part of the show. It's
gone so quick.
Yeah, I know. We talk so much, don't we?
But it's so uplifting, and we need to hear this sometimes, because I think the way you're describing your workplace and the fact that you've done it not only once but in 2 or 3 different sites, it proves it can be done. And you're not a tiny business, you're not a micro business, you are a small business, but it's an agile, flexible business.
And it's all self-taught. Like, there's nobody out there that says this is how you can be a decent employer. You just have to know yourself. Like, I've worked for enough crummy people to know how not to do it. And you know, it's self-taught, it's by awful experiences. So if there was a handbook out there how to be a decent employer,
you
for
should write one.
You should.
That's it. Simple as that.
You could probably co-write one, because you're both great employees.
Oh my goodness. Right, there's so much to take away from what you've said, and so much of this is about person-centred.
Yes.
Always being person-centred.
Yes.
And I think, I say like it or not, because I know there's a lot of resistance to it. I think the world is becoming more person-centred, and it has to be, and that's through every single field, whether that's becoming more inclusive, more diverse, all of those different aspects. And I know people struggle with it because it's a bit like, oh, but what if we don't get the same talent, or what if we don't? Well, you maybe need to diversify what you're looking for.
Exactly.
You know, and the talents that are going to be valuable. So I think that's what I've taken a lot today. It's we are getting more person-centred. That is not a bad thing.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And I think what I've taken from it is more specific to your organisation, which is it must be such a lovely place to work, and for your clients to be as well. I just think it's amazing.
Your staff, as a business, your staff are your most important people, especially if you're customer facing, whether that's physically in front of the customer or over the phone. If your staff aren't happy, that's filtering down into the service you're expecting them to deliver. So they have to be treated as the most important people, because they are. My business would be nothing without my staff. So I like to think that they know that.
And I think all organisations are the same, but I think that not all employers recognise that like you do.
Exactly.
And that's the key.
Yeah.
You recognise that.
So on that note, Fern, can you give us your top 3 tips for well-being and being well at work, please?
Absolutely. I think the first one should be to pay your staff what they're worth. There is a living wage out there that is set as a minimum. There's nothing to say you can't pay more than that. And I am very proud to say that I will always pay more than living wage for my staff. Second thing would be time off. Everybody needs to step away. As a business, it doesn't cost me any more money to give my staff more holidays. So I am also very proud to say my staff get 7 weeks holiday a year, and they will always get 7 weeks holiday a year as a minimum. And then the third thing would be just be nice. Love your staff, love who they are, what they do for you, and that will show in their work as well.
Just be
Amazing.
nice.
Just be nice.
But everything you say is so simple, so straightforward, and yet people are theorising about this, people are analysing it, and people are still not doing it.
Exactly.
I don't get it. I go to conferences and I see people bang on about the next AI thing and the next technological thing. You just say, be nice.
Just be nice. It's so easy to do. So I know all of my staff by names. I know all of their personal circumstances. If there's a spouse, I know their names. Grandchildren, I know their names. They all get presents at Christmas. They all get presents on their birthdays. That is just the most I can do for them, is to make sure they have a decent birthday present, they get something decent at Christmas, as do their grandchildren, as do their children. It's, just, I know them as a whole, they know me as a whole. I'm very open with my staff, and it is working. I like to think they're very happy in their job.
I'm sure.
Absolutely sure.
The fact that I have 0 turnover of staff in 5 years,
Exactly.
I think shows you. The only time I've had to recruit is due to expansion, not to fill roles.
Oh, what a
Amazing.
great thing to end on. That's a great statement and a real kind of raising the bar for this is what organisations can be like.
This is the future of employment, I think. Yeah.
Agreed.
And if I can do it as a small business, I could drop in the ocean. Imagine your massive corporations that still only give their staff 5.6 weeks holiday a year, that are still on living wage. Up the game, the game.
Oh my goodness. Fern, thank you so much as always, and to everybody out there from us all, have a healthy week.